Hello everyone, my name is Archana Devi. So this video is in continuation of the video lecture taken on the system attributes to performance in order to measure the performance of a processor by where we had found out various parameters like processor execution time, then million instructions per second. So we have derived all these formulas as well in that video. So if you haven't watched that video, I would request you to watch that part first so that we can do a numerical based on these parameters. So this is a quick recap. The various parameters we have: CPU execution time, then we have the total number of processor clock cycles, we have the clock cycles per instruction CPI parameter, and MIPS, million instructions per rate. So these are the various formulas for that. Now let us look at a numerical based on these parameters in order to find out the performance. So the question given here, we have a program is run on a 40 megahertz processor. The executed program consists of this many number of instructions with the following instruction mix and clock cycle count. So what do we have to find out? Determine the effective CPI, the overall CPI, MIPS rate, and the execution time for the program. So these are the three parameters which they have asked in the question. So if you look at the table, they have given various instruction classification with its instruction count. So integer arithmetic instructions takes 45,000 numbers, where the average number of clock cycles needed for this classification of instruction is 1. And data transfer instructions, they have given, this is the instruction count, where the average CPI for this classification of instruction is 2, and so on. This is a floating point and it's a control transfer instruction. Okay, so from this we need to find out effective CPI first. So the formula, okay, so we already know the formula to find out the total CPI. The total CPI is the number of clock cycles divided by instruction count. So first we need to find out the total number of clock cycles from this. So we have the total number of clock cycles formula, right? The total number of clock cycles is given as sigma, what is the formula? Sigma ICI into CPII for each classification of instruction. So here for each classification, this is sigma, where you have to sum up. So ICI into CPII. So you can expand this as 45,000, right? 45,000 into 1 plus the next classification of instruction, 32,000 into 2 plus 15,000 into 2 plus 8,000 into 2. So this is how you will find out the total number of clock cycles. So if you multiply this and add it up, you will get the answer as this much, 1,55,000 clock cycles. This is the total number of clock cycles you will get if you calculate this. So now you have to find out the effective CPI. So the overall CPI, right? The overall CPI is a number of clock cycles divided by the instruction count, right? Number of clock cycles divided by the instruction count. So the total number of clock cycles divided by instruction count will give you the CPI. So here if you substitute this value divided by the total number of instruction is given as 1 lakh. So if you substitute this value, you will get it as 1.55. So this is the first value that they have asked. What is the effective CPI? Next, they have asked to find out MIPS. So what is the MIPS rate? So there are various formulas to find out MIPS rate. We have the clock rate given. And we have found out the CPI also. So using that, we have the formula, the clock rate divided by CPI into 10 power 6. You can use that formula here. So here, if you use the formula, clock rate divided by CPI into 10 power 6. So the clock rate is given as 40 megahertz. So 40 into mega is 10 power 6 divided by CPI. CPI you have found out as 1.55 into 10 power 6. This is how you will find out MIPS. So here if you substitute, if you calculate this value, you will get the MIPS rate as 25.8. So this many million instructions is getting executed per second in this program. That is a meaning. Okay, and finally they have asked to find out the execution time. So the execution time, we have many formula for that. We have already found out the number of clock cycles as this much, right? The basic formula, we have the instruction count into CPI, the overall CPI into clock cycle time, or divided by the clock rate. Here they have given clock rate, so you can use clock rate. So this is a basic formula. So this we have already found out, IC into CPI we already found out as 1,55,000. So if you directly substitute that value, you will get the answer divided by the clock rate is given as 40 into 10 power 6. So this is the overall execution time in order to calculate the the overall execution time for this program. So if you substitute this value, you will get it as 3875, or you can rewrite it as 3.875 millisecond. Milli is 10 power minus 3.